Well, here's a story of a woman who had tons of grandchildren that she never met or seen. Heck, she wasn't even related to them, but they meant the world to her, and she meant the world to them. Dorothy Landgraf, also known as Granny Dot of New Albany, Indiana, spent 12 years handwriting letters to U.S. troops during the Gulf War. They were addressed to, quote, any service person. She thought it would be nice for troops who might not get mail from home. Her letters said things like, I wish all of you could be home and getting on with your life in peace and happiness. Well, her words and her warmth became their home away from home. Over time, Granny Dot couldn't write anymore, and she lost touch with a lot of those troopers. But you're going to meet one soldier who never forgot her or her letters. So he just had to let her know how much she touched his life. So you know what he did? He reached out 18 years later, afraid he'd missed the chance to thank her. Sergeant First Class Brian Vasquez joining us now live from Shreveport, Louisiana. And Brian, you actually found her. How did you do it?
I was going through some paperwork and looking for stuff I was for the Army, paperwork I was using to retire. And I found an old letter, and I looked at it and I said, oh, wow, great, because I was trying to get in touch with her, and I lost the letter 18 years ago.
And tell me what those letters did for you, Brian, and the other guys and women around you in the armed forces.
Well, it was very motivating because at the time we were all young, 18, 19-year-olds going to another country to deploy. So it was kind of inspirational to keep us going so we wouldn't give up or feel alone. So it was very inspirational to me and all the soldiers around me, and I never forgot her. And I wanted to give her her rightful credit and due by telling her story to the world.
And so what would happen? Would just bags of mail come in and you would see these letters saying to any soldier and you would just reach in and grab one? Is that how it worked?
Yes, it was a box full of letters and her name was on all of them. And I decided one day to pick it up and read it. And once I did, it was like, wow, this lady is special. And a lot of soldiers just sat together and was talking about her one day. And I said, well, I'm going to write her. And I did, and she wrote me back several times. I promised that I would call her when I got back to the States, but I couldn't find the letter, and I was very discouraged about that. But luckily, 18 years later, I found it. Don't know how, but I found it, and I called her, and I thanked her for what she did.
Well, and we have a very special surprise for you, Brian. We actually tracked down Granny Dot. We were told she wasn't writing letters anymore, that she wasn't feeling real well, but she's joining us on the phone now. Granny Dot, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much for being with us. Do you remember Brian Vasquez?
Yes, I do.
Oh, and do you remember when he called you up, and how did that make you feel?
Oh, it made me feel wonderful. And I cried afterwards because I was so impressed that he bothered to call me. It's all, a lot of them have since they got back. And son, I never heard from again. I mean, it was just a wonderful thing.
And Granny Dot, why do you care so much about our men and women in the military, men like Brian Vasquez?
For one thing, I loved my own son. And I know how I loved him. And I thought, how could their parents stand it? And I loved them. And I just did. I don't know.
Oh, and Brian, do you have Granny Dot's letter with you by chance?
Yes, I do.
Is there a part that maybe, if you don't mind, if you pull it out? Yeah, is it? Oh my gosh! Oh, Granny Dot, if you could see this letter, it's oh, wow. Is there a part of it, Brian, that you don't mind reading? A couple sentences, maybe a part that meant a lot to you of what Granny Dot wrote?
Sure. Yes. She said, "You are so kind to remember me with a very nice letter. It made me so happy. I'll add it to my souvenirs for all my friends that's serving in the armed forces in the Middle East. The cards and letters I received from all of you are very dear to me. There is so much history to that part of the world. I would love to visit there one day. For now, I'll just live it through you and my friends serving their country there.
Oh, Granny Dot, he had saved that letter almost 20 years later.
I can't believe they kept them that long.
Granny Dot, anything you want to say to Brian while we have him here?
Other than I wish him the best in the world. And
Brian? Oh, go ahead, Granny.
Yes.
well, I just wish him the most happiness in the world. And I think he deserves it, and the other one too. All of them do. And I felt as close to the black ones as I did the white ones. I'm not prejudiced anyway, and I could love all of them.
Oh.
And they were so brave. They were so brave to go, and I was scared to death what Hussein was going to do. I was, and I watched it every day on the news, and I talked to some at my workplace even. They called me there when they couldn't get me at home. And all kinds of, I had all wonderful, wonderful experiences.
Well, Brian, anything you'd like to say to Granny Dot after all these years of writing letters and touching your heart? And hey, she's celebrating her 59th wedding anniversary. Hallelujah.
Wow, congratulations. I just want to say, now that I'm about to retire after 20 years of service, I wanted to say thank you on behalf of all the soldiers that served in the wars. And I want to say you've been an inspiration in my life and allowed me to even consider to stay in to do 20 years because your letters were so loving and caring. And on behalf of all the soldiers that read your letters and responded, I say thank you, we love you, and we'll never forget you.
Well, thank you. I don't deserve that, but I really
Yes, you do.
appreciate it.
Granny Dot, we sure hope you're feeling better, and happy anniversary. And Sergeant First Class Brian Vasquez, thank you so much for your 20 years of service. You make us so proud, Brian.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks to you both. More from the CNN Newsroom straight ahead.